Hello again, guys. It's Carly from the Poetry of Nice, and I have a quick video for you guys today about cross-posting on Etsy and eBay. I've had quite a few questions from people asking kind of why I do it, how I do it, and how I sort of control those circumstances, I suppose you would say, considering that the same item is posted on two separate platforms. How I deal with making sure that I don't accidentally sell the same thing twice. So I figured I'd just show you guys real quick how I go about the process of cross posting. So here we go. The example I was going to use here is this pair of vintage overalls. So this is something that I would typically cross post. So you can see here I've been working on this Etsy listing. So I've got my title in, I've got my photographs in, all of my information basically. I haven't decided on my price yet. I will do that. And I've written my description here, done my weighing and my measurements of my boxes and things like that, done my tags and filled in all the relevant information. So the reason why I start out on Etsy is because Etsy essentially requires you to go a little deeper into your description and your item details. So once I've gone ahead and got all that done, I can kind of steal that information from my Etsy listing and take it over to my eBay listing, and that will sort of give me a better listing, I suppose you would say, on eBay. My description, for instance, is a lot more thoughtfully worded, I suppose, that you could say on Etsy. I put a little bit more time and thought into it, and so I feel like that would make for a better, more well-rounded listing on eBay, as opposed to me taking what is perhaps a more minimalistic listing on eBay, essentially when that's the only platform I'm listing on, and just kind of transferring that over to Etsy. I'd have a lot more information that I'd have to fill out on the other side doing it that way. So I just find that this personally works for me a lot better, and it gives me the best possible listing on both selling platforms. Okay, so I'll go ahead and show you. I have this up here that I've just begun to work on. As you can see, I need to finish off this title, because on Etsy, this is my title, and then on eBay it's a lot smaller, so I need to work on condensing that. Obviously I have not got it sorted yet. I have my category worked out. That actually needs to be changed as well, right? Because it's not jeans. Remember to always double check your category, make sure it's going into the right place. So I will go ahead and browse and change that. It is going to go into my men's clothing category within my store. This does not apply. It's a vintage item. I don't have that information. And then I've gone ahead and sorted out my photographs, with this being my thumbnail photograph. Okay, so here comes item specifics. So obviously I know my brand, my size type. So this was an interesting one. I did not have a sizing tag, so I had to go on my own measurements and kind of cross-reference that with other a variety of different men's clothing companies to see what that approximates in terms of a modern size, and it's around an extra large. So that's what I've got with all of my approximate measurements filled in as well. So I will fill in a lot of these things. You can see my waist size, my inseam. This is all stuff that I actually already have done. So I'll just go ahead and take those numbers and transplant them into here. And then I'll go ahead and I will take everything apart from this little bit at the bottom here, because that's a within Etsy link. I'll take all of this and I will just super easy, just copy and paste. And there we go. I have a nice description, not too long, not too short. I'm pretty happy with that. And obviously I'll do, when I work out my price, I will go ahead and pop it in there. My quantity is fine. So I look over all of this every single time. Because it changes, right? I'm going to do good till cancelled, because I'm going to be going over the $20 mark, so I'm comfortable with that. Okay, I've got this all filled out, and then I'm going to be doing a flat rate envelope, but I will still go ahead and put my custom weight, which I already weighed this item in packaging, so I know it's going to be 2 pounds and 9 ounces. I'll pop that in. And then apart from refining these little bits up here, adding a few numbers and whatnot, I'm refining the category and the title. I'm happy with that, and I can go ahead and just and list this on both of these platforms simultaneously, and just go ahead and record that I've done that. So how I stay on top of it, it's a really good question. So first of all, I have a spreadsheet. I'll kind of bring it up here and show you. This is everything that I purchase. And as you can see here, I will list which platforms I have posted on. Everything with Etsy and eBay is an item that has been cross-posted. So I have both apps on my phone, as most people do. lets me know when I get a sale. And essentially, the best way that I can describe it is just being willing and sort of training yourself to the moment that you get a sale to go into the other app immediately, sort of no matter what you're doing, essentially, and double check as to whether or not that item is listed on the other platform. That's pretty much all that I can say about that. And I do that with everything I sell, unless it's something on eBay that is obviously not vintage. You know, if I sold Spyro the Dragon, a computer game, a video game, whatever, on eBay, I would not go and check Etsy for that. But if it's anything that would remotely be something that I would potentially list on Etsy, I will go in and double check as to whether or not that item exists as an Etsy listing, because you do forget when you break through that sort of 250 plus listings on both platforms, and there's a variety on each. They're not all exactly the same. So there's more than 250 that I'm dealing with. You do forget. And then you get into the realm of, certain things expire on certain platforms. I might renew them on Etsy because it's 20 cents for 4 months and I like how they've been viewed on that platform, and I may leave them behind and just forget about them on eBay. Regardless what I think I've done, I will always double check. And I will double check on Etsy in both my active listings and my unsold listings. And if they still exist as a listing and unsold, say they expired and I just never renewed, or they, I removed them for some reason, or they sold on Bonanza, which throws another spanner in the works, right? Because that's another platform. I will always remove that item immediately from my unsold items, and I will double check in there as well, make sure it's not hanging out, because lo and behold, you go in and you have a look one day and you say, oh, I'm going to renew a bunch of items, and you renew something you sold on a different platform because you took it down out of your active listings, but you didn't take it off eBay entirely. You need to delete the listings entirely, not just deactivate them. Same goes for eBay, the other way around. I go ahead and I deactivate my listings, and I don't delete them necessarily from Etsy, because they're not it's more intentional on Etsy to have to go in and renew an item than it is, I would say, on eBay. And you do so much less renewing. The time period is much longer for each listing. It's around the 3 to 4 month mark on Etsy that I don't come across the situation where I accidentally relist things very often. But yes, that is my best advice, to just stay on top of it and just be willing to kind of press the pause button on life when you sell something. And it literally takes about 10 seconds. But I will admit, at the beginning, I would forget. I get excited at a sale. I text my husband, I do whatever people do, and I would forget to go in. And I had a few times where, hours would pass and I'd suddenly go, oh my gosh, I have left it on the other platform. And, the kind of minor panic would set in. But yes, that's what I can do. But do I think it's worth it, cross-posting? I absolutely do. If you see any of my sales videos, you will see that it tends to even out between eBay and Etsy, and a lot of the things that I sell on either one are cross-posted things. So you really can't tell, and I would say that it definitely ups my per week sort of net profit by doing that, because you're reaching two audience bases. What can I say? It's a good way to go about it. But yes, I hope that helped a little bit about how I go about it, how easy it is to do it, and how simple and hard at the same time it is to kind of stay on top of all of that. But trust me, after you've got used to it a little bit, if you're okay with being organized and you're okay with kind of committing to doing that right away, just managing your inventory for those sort of 10 to 30 seconds, then I would say give it a go. Start slow, start with maybe 10 items and just kind of see how it goes for you, but just stay organized. I don't know, it's easy to say, right? It's practice, really. And thank goodness I haven't accidentally sold something on both platforms yet, but that can happen, and undoubtedly it will happen to me at some point. I pray that I sell something on eBay first and then have to tell the Etsy person, because you don't have the ding issue there, and I feel like I can extend more customer service sort of off the cuff on Etsy and offer them something else, some kind of cool discount, whereas eBay is a little bit more difficult because a lot more stringent rules. But anyway, I digress. I hope that helped. Any questions on this subject, please do throw them my way. I know a few people were interested in the fact that I cross post, so please just ask away. I will answer whatever I can if this video did not cover it. And if this was useful to you, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that the informational stuff does help you. That would be great too. Subscribe if you want to see more. And guys, I just hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Bye.